Dear viewers, so far in module 2 in all the previous sessions, we have learned how to evolve a mathematical model for various systems given, such as for mechanical system, electrical system, thermal system, hydraulic system and pneumatic systems. Then we also went on to know about arriving at the transfer function using the block diagram reduction rules. Now, there is not one method for arriving at the transfer function. Block diagram reduction rules will also be very effective. No doubt the block diagram reduction method is a very important and effective tool in the design and development of any control system. Whereas the block diagram reduction rules also has a few shortcomings, right. Although the very idea of using the block diagram reduction rule is so that we will be able to know the function performed by each of the component of the system given and the interrelationship that exists between each of the component of the given system. And what we did, what we learned, we applied the block diagram reduction rules so that n number of components might have been there with the system. All of the, every single component we have represented it with the help of block diagram. Then what we did was, with the use of block diagram reduction rules, we reduced the number of blocks from n number of blocks to a single block with a single input and single output, and the content of the block would be addressed as the transfer function. Now similarly, the disadvantages, considering the disadvantages associated with the block diagram, what if suppose the number of components of any given system which we have to analyze is too many, the number of components, if it goes very high, then what happens is the circuit, the block diagram network that will be planning, that will become very, very complex in nature, and it will be very tedious and complex situation to analyze the system and arrive at the transfer function. That is one of the major drawback. Wherever the number of components are too many, then it is going to be a tedious process for us. That is number one. Second drawback that is associated with block diagrams is that the block diagrams does not consider the effect of parameter changes in the input. The effect of parameter changes that takes place on the system is not taken into consideration. For overcoming these drawbacks associated with the block diagram reduction method, one researcher by the name Mason came out with an alternate method for arriving at the transfer function, that is known as signal flow graph. Mason is the name of the individual. He introduced the alternate method for the block diagrams so that we could strive to arrive at the transfer function with an alternate method, and this method is known as the signal flow graphs, and it is acronymed as SFG. What are these signal flow graphs? These signal flow graphs are defined as, these are the simultaneous linear algebraic equations considering the signals. If it is drawn, then the ultimate result will be the signal flow graphs, right. Now, what is the objective of signal flow graphs? The objective of the mathematical modeling, the objective of the block diagram reduction method, as well as the objective of signal flow graphs will more or less be the same. What we are trying to use these methods, be it block diagram reduction method or be it signal flow graphs method. We are trying to use these methods so that we could know the functionality of every single component of the system, and then we could arrive at the transfer function, overall transfer function for the system given, so that one equation or one function will be able to speak about the entire functionality of the system. Okay. So, signal flow graphs, before we get into how do we use the signal flow graphs so that we could arrive at the transfer function, the basic fundamentals of signal flow graphs, the terminologies of signal flow graphs is very important to be known to us. Just like in the block diagrams, we went on to know the terminology such as what is a block diagram, and then we went on to know what are the rules that we have to follow. And even here also in signal flow graphs, before we start using the signal flow graphs and analyzing them, then before we start going for that stage, it is very important for us to know the terminologies that are used in the signal flow graphs. Let me explain the terminologies with the help of a simple signal flow graph itself. Let me write one simple signal flow graph, just an example case. Now, what is the transfer function that we will be trying to arrive at using maybe block diagram or maybe the signal flow graphs method is the CS by RS. The ultimate the transfer function which we have been talking about is nothing but what is the ratio of output to the input, and the right hand side will have a mathematical equation or the function that will tell what is the transfer function of the system to transform the input to the output. So, let me take this as the example, it is just an example written by me. Now, this I am taking it to support my explanation, to explain the various terminologies that are used in the signal flow graphs. As you can see over here, all these small circles what I have written here, this one, this one, this one, this one, as well as this one, as well as this one. All those are called, these are called nodes. This is a node, this is a node. All these are the nodes. Okay, then that is what has been written over here. The first terminology that every one of us should know is there is a node in signal flow graph. And what is a node? The definition is the node, as you can see over here, it is the meeting point. If you can observe this as a node, this is the meeting point. This signal is going and meeting over here. This is a meeting point as well as the emerging point for the outgoing signals. It is the meeting point for incoming signal and it is the emerging point for all the outgoing signals. If you can just observe over here, this node, if you observe, this signal is going and meeting to this particular node. And if you can observe the same node over here, this signal as well as this signal, they are emerging from this node. So, this signal and this signal, they are coming and meeting at this node. This signal G5 and this signal G2, they are both emerging from the same node. So, a node is a very general term. It is the, you can just say it is the meeting point or emerging point for any signal. Signals can come and meet at a node and signals can emerge from a node. So, there is no restriction. This is a node, this is a node, this is a node, this is a node, as well this is a node and this is a node. Those nodes are represented with a small circle. Then let us say what is a branch. Branch, if you can just see the path that is connecting one node to the other, that is what is a branch. The path that is connecting one node to the other. See, from this node to this node, this is the path. So, this can be termed as the branch. From this node to this node, this is the path connecting these two nodes. This can be the branch. Then from this node to this node, again in the reverse direction, in the feedback direction also, there is a path which is connecting this node and this node. So, this is also termed as a branch. It is not just that only in the forward direction we will be addressing them or calling them as the branches. The branch can even be in the feedback direction or reverse direction also. If you can just see from this node to this node, this is the path that is coming. So, this itself is a branch. So, what is a branch? Branch is the path through which the signal flows, maybe in the forward direction as you can see over here, or maybe in the backward direction as you can see over here. Then The third terminology is the input node. What is the input node? Input node, if you observe over here, this is termed as input node. The moment you look at the input node, this node, then itself you will be able to understand this has got only outgoing branches. So the node that will be at the beginning, or more precisely addressing it, the node from where there are only outgoing branches, such a node is called the input node. If you can observe over here, this is the node from where there are only outgoing branches, there is no incoming branch to it, because of which this node can be called as input node. Then output node. Output node, as ironical to the input node, if you can just see this particular node, this node, right? So if you can observe it, then you can see there are only incoming branches. There is no outgoing branch. There is no outgoing branch. There are only incoming branches. Such a node where there are only incoming branches of signals coming and meeting at that particular node, that type of a node is called output node. All other nodes, they cannot be addressed as input node or output node, because in all the cases, if you can see, any node in between this node, this node, this node as well as this node, there are both incoming branches as well as outgoing branches. Whereas this node is having only outgoing branches, because of which this is called input node. This node is having only incoming branches, because of which this is called output node. Then path. What is the path? It is the path is nothing but the travels or the travel of the signal between the various nodes. Between the various nodes. If you can just see, this is a path. See, the signal has started here at this node, it has gone to this node, then to this node, then to this node, then to this node, then to this node. Not just in the forward direction. You cannot just universally address it as path is nothing but the movement only in the forward direction. Even in the reverse direction also, if it is moving, then that is also a path. So path is nothing but the travel of the signal from one node to the other. Then forward path. What is a forward path? The forward path is nothing but it is the path through which the signal travels starting from the input node to the output node. It is not going to be considered if the path is ending in between over here. Forward path means to say it is the path through which the signal travels from the input node to the output node. Then if we speak about the feedback path, or it is also called a loop. Feedback path, or it is also called a loop. It is the path which originates and terminates at the same node. See, if you can just observe the circuit over here. See here, the signal is starting at this node, right? This signal is starting at this node, going to the next node, and then coming back to the same node. What does it mean? For this part of the circuit, for this part of the signal flow graph, the signal starts at this node, goes to the other node, then comes back to the same node. What does it mean? The signal is starting from this node and then terminating at the same node. Such a path is called feedback path, or it is also called as a loop. It need not travel to other node always. It can even be like, see, if you just observe it over here, a path is starting from this node and terminating at the same node, and in between there is no other node coming into picture. See, for this particular feedback path, a path has started here, gone to this node, and then came back to this node. This is called a feedback path. Here also, if you can just see, a node, the path has started from this node, gone to this node, then came back to the same node. This is also a feedback path. And here also, this is also a feedback path or a loop. Why? Because this is starting and ending at the same node, even though it is not touching any other node in between. And such kind of a loop or feedback path is called self loop. This is called self loop. Okay. Then non-touching loops. What are non-touching loops? Because see, as I have mentioned, if you want to use the signal flow graphs for analyzing any given system to you and try to arrive at the transfer function Cs by Rs, then all these terminologies we have to make use of. That is why it is important to know their definitions with the application of an example. See, non-touching loops. What it means by non-touching loops? See, this is a loop, this is also a loop. Okay. Now, are they touching with one another? They are not touching with one another. If we say this as loop 1, this as loop 2 and this as loop 3, then if we just see over here, loop L1 starting from here going till here coming back, then loop L2 starting here going to this node and coming back and meeting at the same node. So, L1 and L2, are they touching? They do not appear to touch. And technically, how do we speak them? If there is no common node between the two loops, if there is no common node between the two loops, like see, this is a node for L1 and this is a node for L2. Is there any node common between L1 and L2? Is there any node common, either this node L2, is it common for these two loops? Is there any node, either this node or this node or this node or this node? Is there any single node that is common between the loop 1 and loop 2? There is no common node. Because of it, what we tend to say is loop L1 and L2 does not touch one another. So, straight away universally what you can say is, if there is no common node between any two loops, then those two loops are called a pair of two non-touching loops, a pair of non-touching loops. Similarly, if you just see over here, this loop L2 and L3, see, between this loop L2 and L3, is there any common node? Yes, this node is common. Why? Because L2 is also passing through this node, L3 is also starting and terminating at the same node, because of which this node becomes common to L2 and L3. Therefore, what we can say, L2 and L3, they form a pair of touching loops, because there is a node common between both L2 as well as L3 loop. That is what it means to say by non-touching loops. The non-touching loops are those loops which will not have any common node between them. Then, what is forward path gain? Forward path gain. See, forward path we have already understood. It is the path through which the signal travels from the input node to the output node. Now, this path is having several nodes in between, and from one node to the other, the signal is flowing in terms of G1, G2, G3, G4, G7, minus H2, minus H1, G5 as such. They are all the signal flows. Then forward path means it is starting from this node and going till here, the last output node. Therefore, what is the forward path gain means? It is nothing but product of the signal that is flowing through each of the branches along the forward path. So, that is what is the gain. So, if you just say from here till here, what is the gain? It is G1. From this node to this node, what is the gain? It is G2. From this node to this node, what is the gain? G3. This node to this node, it is G4. This node to this node, it is G7. Now, what it means by forward path gain? You have to multiply the content of all the individual branches along the forward path from input node to the output node. If you just multiply their contents, obviously ultimately what you get is going to be the forward path gain. That is what has been written over here. Then lastly, loop gain. Loop gain. So, it is the product of the branch gain of the loop. What does it mean to say? See, if this is the loop, this is the feedback loop. So, starting from here, going till here and then coming back. So, what is the path it is traveling? From this node to this node, it has got G2 as the signal. It has got the G2 as the gain. Then from here going back to this node, it has got minus H1. If you just say what is the loop gain, then multiply the gain of the path of the loop. Multiply the gain of the path of the loop. So, G2 multiplied by minus H1. So, for this loop, the loop gain will be G2 into minus H1. So, it gives you minus G2 H1. Okay. So this is what the terminology that you are supposed to know. This is what is the terminology one is supposed to know in order to start using the signal flow graphs, so that we will be able to analyze any given system and arrive at the transfer function Cs by Rs. After knowing the terminologies of the signal flow graphs, now let us learn how to construct a signal flow graph for any given system. Suppose, let us learn it with the help of some simple problems. Okay. Suppose we are given it an electrical system as it has been drawn over here. It has got input voltage as Vi, current IT is flowing through the circuit, there is a resistor, there is a capacitance, and the voltage that is available at the output is V0 of t. If we just make use of the Ohm's law and Kirchhoff's law, then what is the voltage that is flowing across the input? It is nothing but voltage across the resistance plus voltage across the capacitance. What are they? It is IR plus 1 by C. IR, V voltage across the resistance is IR, and voltage across the capacitance is 1 by C integral of I dt. Then if we just apply Laplace, apply the Laplacian transformation, then what I will get is R into I of S plus 1 by C, yes, because integral, if we convert it into Laplace transformation, it will be 1 by S into I of S. This is what I am going to get. Then if we also try to know what is the voltage across the output, the voltage across the output will always be equal to the voltage across the last element of the electrical circuit. That is, voltage across the output will be equal to the voltage across the capacitance of this given circuit. So V0 of t is equal to Vc, and that is given by 1 by C integral of I dt. If you apply Laplace transformation, it will be 1 by Cs I of S. Now if you just see, now let me try to draw the signal flow graph for this. See, what is the starting point for the circuit over here? It is Vi of t. I will make that as one node. Then what is flowing inside the circuit? I will write it as Vi of S, because the moment you apply Laplace transformation, t can be replaced by Vi of S. Okay. Now what is flowing across the circuit? Current I of t. So I will make this, and this now becomes I of S. Then what is the output that we have got at the end? It will be V0 of S. Okay. Now if you just observe over here, what is Vi? As you can see, Ri of S plus 1 by Cs. So if you just say resistance is one branch, then capacitance on the other. So I will write 1 by Cs. Now if you just observe, what is the voltage across the input? It will be equal to R into I of S. You have to multiply the value of the node along with the branch gain. And now since voltage across the input is measured, so the direction of the arrow has to be towards I of S. Why? Because as you have seen earlier also, if this is the block and this is Cs and this is Rs, and if this is Gs, then Cs will be equal to Rs into Gs. Why? Because input multiplied by the content of the block, that will give you the output. In the similar fashion, here also, if the voltage across the input needs to be measured, then it is equal to the voltage across the resistance and voltage across the plus voltage across the capacitance. So if you have to add, obviously the direction of the arrow has to be towards Vi of S. Then this is not sufficient, because as per the circuit it is voltage across the resistance plus the voltage across the capacitance, because of which you have to take a parallel path so that the capacitance, voltage across the capacitance could also be contributing towards Vi of S. That is why you have taken a parallel path. Again the direction of the arrow has to be towards Vi of S. Only then what we can make out is Vi of S will be equal to R into I of S plus 1 by Cs into I of S. This is what has been written over here. So how did we draw this? From this particular equation, Vi of S is equal to R into I of S plus 1 by Cs into I of S. That is how we have drawn the signal flow graphs for this particular circuit. Now, what is voltage across the output? The voltage across the output is equal to 1 by Cs into I of S. So I of S is there, and if I have to multiply I of S with 1 by Cs, and we have to contribute towards V naught of S, therefore I have to keep the arrow in this direction. Why? Only when I write the arrow in this direction, then V naught of S will be equal to whatever will be the branch gain multiplied by I of S, that will give me the V naught of S. That is why what I have done here is I have written the arrow in the direction of V naught, and then I will write 1 by Cs. Now what you can say, what is V naught of S? It is equal to 1 by Cs into I of S. This is how you will be writing the signal flow graph. Now, if you are given with, let us take one more example, simple example, to learn how to draw the signal flow graphs, because before we start using the signal flow graphs, the system given to us will not be in terms of signal flow graphs. It will be just any other system like the electrical circuit written over here, or maybe a block diagram, or maybe some relationship. So from those relationships, or maybe from the block diagram, or maybe from electrical network, we have to make a signal flow graph, and then we start deriving the transfer function Cs by Rs. Now, if you are just observe over here, this is a simple feedback system what has been mentioned over here. If we try to draw the signal flow graph for the same, see here R, it is starting somewhere, although there is no end shown over here, but it is starting somewhere. So that point can be assumed to be a node. So I will write one node over here. Then all takeoff points and summing points, they become the nodes. So from here it has come to this particular summing point. So I will convert that into a node. Then from here, if you can just see, in the block diagram, the signal goes inside the block, whereas in the signal flow graphs, the signal comes out as the branch gain. So from here, from this summing point to this takeoff point, there is a path. So this takeoff point has been written as a node. Then from here, it is going in this direction. Again, there is some point where it ends. So that is also assumed and written as a node. Now, again, so from this takeoff point to this summing point, the signal is being fed back. Again, the feedback signal comes out of the block in terms of signal flow graphs. So where is the node which is representing this takeoff point? It is this node. Where is the signal going back and meeting? It is to this summing point, which is written here as a node. So this is how it goes. Now, here what is the branch gain? It is from here till here, the branch gain is Gs. I will write it as Gs. Then from here, the feedback loop has come and reached this node, that is from here till this summing point. So it is in the backward direction or feedback loop, and what is the signal? It is Hs. And since it is negative in direction, negative in sign, I will write minus Hs. Then from here till here, is there any change? No. So what I will do is the branch gain, I will name it as unity. And from here till here, the output is not going to change, because of which I will name this also as unity. See, this is what is the signal flow graph for the block diagram which has been shown over here. Now, the third way of the expected data to us, so that we can draw the signal flow graph, as you can see over here. Okay. Now, if you just observe it over here, x2, the value of x2 is given what? It is in terms of x1, x3, x4 as well as x5. That means to say there will be as many as 5 nodes. There will be as many as 5 nodes. So first duty for me will be, I will write 5 nodes. And what will be the name that I will have to give? See, x1 is there, x2 is there, x3 is there, x4, x5. So I will name them as x1, x2, x3, x4 as well x5. All those are the nodes. Then what is x2 is given as a1 to 2 into x1. x1 is a12 into x1. That means to say x1 is already there. a1 to 2 means to say the signal is flowing from 1 to 2. So it is in this direction, because 1 to 2 the signal is flowing and it is nothing but a12. So x2 is equal to x1 into a12. This is what over. Then plus a32 into x3. x3 is here, 3 to 2 is, that means today the signal has to flow in this direction. So what I will do is, I will take this path and would say, since it is a feedback path, a3 and 2, a32. Okay, then this is also over. Then x2 is also equal to, in addition to a12 into x1 plus a32 into x3, it is also equal to a42 into x4. That means to say from x4 the signal is flowing back to x2 again. What is it? a42. Then x2 is also equal to all this plus a52 into x5. That means the signal is flowing back from x5 to x2. a5 2. This is over. The value of x2 has been justifiably drawn with the help of signal flow graph. Now come to next term, that is x3. What is x3? It is written as a23 into x2. x3 is a23, that means 2 to 3 the signal is flowing. The direction is flowing. And what is the gain? a23. So from x2 it has started. It has flown from 2 to 3, from x2 to x3 it has gone. So x3 is equal to a23 into x2. Then what is x4? x4 is written as x3 into a34. So x3 into a34 means again it is flowing from 3 to 4 with the gain of 3, 4. Then plus it is also written as x4 is equal to this one plus a44 into x4. That means there is a self loop over here. What it means is there is a self loop. You can just say self loop. It is starting and terminating at the same node. Then what is x5? x5 is written as a3 to 5 into x3. So from x3 the signal is flowing to x5. So what you can say, in this fashion you can bring, and because 3 to 5 it has to flow, 3 to 5, and the gain is a35, it has flown from 3 to 5. Then plus a45 into x4. So x4 is here, into a45 means there is a signal flowing from 4 to 5 with the gain of a45. This is how the signal flow graph for the given relationship can be written. Now, if suppose we are given with such a signal flow graph and we are asked to find what? We are asked to find the number of forward paths, the number of loops, number of non-touching loops. So all these things we have to find. Now, for this one, if we try to find the solution, if we just look over here, from starting node, input node to the output node, how many forward paths are there? There are only one forward path, because from starting from here, going till node, going to this node, going till this node, there is only one road from input node to the output node. So solution to the question of one, number of forward path is just one. Then number of loops is the next question. How many loops are there? Loop is what? As per the definition, it is the path that starts and terminates at the same node. So here if you just can see, this is the path. From here, the path is starting, going till this node and coming back to the same node. This is the only loop that is available. So number of loops is also 1. Then what is the third part? Number of non-touching loops. Number of non-touching loops. So question number C, number of non-touching loops. Number of non-touching loops means since there is only one loop, so only in case there are two loops or more, only in such a case we will be able to know whether the loops are touching each other or not. Now since there is only one loop, so number of non-touching loops will be 0. If suppose some relationship is given to us in this fashion, say x1 of t is equal to k1 into dx2 by dt and x2 is equal to k2 integral of x3 t into dt, and we are asked to draw the signal flow graph. This is important because even in the practical problems also we could be given with the system which is represented by any of such equations or maybe the drawings. So the first step for this will be, we have to apply Laplace transformation. Then what we may come is x1 of s is equal to k1. In Laplace transformation, d by dt can be replaced by s into x2 of s. And then x2 also, if we apply Laplace transformation, x2 of s is equal to k2. Integral goes as 1 by s and then into x3 of s. This is what is the replacement. Now, if you try to draw the signal flow graphs for this, how many nodes are there? x1, x2 as well as x3. 3 nodes you have to write. So, x1, x2 and x3. 3 nodes you will be writing. Then what is x1? x1 is written as is equal to k1 into dx2 of s. So, k1 into x2 of s. So, this is k1. So, if you just see, x1 is equal to k1 into x2 of s. Then what is x2? If you can just observe over here, k2 divided by s it comes to be. So, k2 by s into x3 of s. So, since x2 is on the left hand side, so this is equal to this one, this function. So, because of it x3 is already there, k2 by s, this will be the relationship. Okay, because of which k2 divided by s. Okay. So, because of which what we can say, now if you just see, you can apply this, if you analyze this signal flow graph, it is in relation to what expressions we have written over here. What? x1 of s is equal to k1 into s, k1 into s into x2 of s. So, because of which what we can say, x2 of s is there as it is into k1 of s, and since we are illustrating the value of x1 of s into signal flow graphs, so the direction will be towards x1. Similarly over here, since we are finding the value of x2, the direction will be towards x2. So, x3 of s into k2 divided by s.